I got back from my honeymoon and my boss asked, "How was your retirement party?" The words hit me like ice water. I stood in his doorway, still tan from Bali, holding the coffee I'd brought him as a thank you gift. "What retirement party?" My voice came out strangled. Richard's face went pale as he pulled up something on his computer. "The one we threw for you last Thursday. You gave a speech about moving to Florida with your wife's inheritance." My hand started shaking. "Richard, I've been in Indonesia for 2 weeks. I got married, remember? You approved my honeymoon leave." He turned his monitor toward me, and my blood froze. There I was, on company security footage dated 3 days ago, standing in the conference room raising a champagne glass. The timestamp showed 2:34 p.m., Thursday, October 1st. At that exact moment, I'd been scuba diving off the coast of Nusa Penida. I had the GoPro footage to prove it, my Instagram stories to prove it. My wife Sarah had posted dozens of photos, but there I stood on Richard's screen, wearing a suit I didn't own, giving a speech I never gave, at a party I never attended. "That's not me," I whispered, but even I could hear how insane that sounded. It looked exactly like me. Same face, same voice on the audio, same little scar above my left eyebrow from when I fell off my bike at age 7. Richard pulled up more files. My resignation letter, dated September 30th, digitally signed with my DocuSign account. Emails from my company address thanking everyone for 5 great years and explaining how Sarah's grandmother had left her $12 million. Security badge records showing me entering the building at 1:47 p.m. and leaving at 4:23 p.m. "I need to sit down," I managed, dropping into the chair across from his desk. My phone was buzzing non-stop. Sarah calling. I answered and put her on speaker. "Baby, why is there a for sale sign in our yard?" Her voice was pure panic. "And why did the bank just email me about our account being closed?" I ran out of Richard's office and drove home at 90 miles per hour. Sarah was standing in our driveway next to a Century 21 sign that had my smiling face on it as the listing agent. The same face from the retirement video, but wearing a realtor blazer I'd never seen. Our front door was wide open. Inside, everything valuable was gone. My gaming setup, Sarah's jewelry, the smart TVs, even the espresso machine we'd gotten as a wedding gift. But that wasn't the worst part. The walls were covered in printed emails between me and someone named Victoria discussing our new life together in Miami. Sarah was crying and screaming. "Who the hell is Victoria?" I pulled up my phone to check our bank accounts. Everything was gone. Checking, savings, even our investment portfolio. $67,000 vanished. The last withdrawal was made in person at a Chase branch downtown while we were 9,000 miles away. The bank had security footage. It was me again, chatting casually with the teller, showing my ID, passing biometric verification. I called Chase frantically. They said I'd personally closed the accounts, citing the move to Florida. They had my signature, my face on camera, even my thumbprint on their scanner. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered on speaker. "Hello, me," said my own voice. Not similar to mine. Exactly mine. Like listening to a recording, except I wasn't the one speaking. "How's married life treating you?" Sarah grabbed my arm so hard her nails drew blood. The voice continued. "Check your email. The fun's just starting." I opened Gmail with trembling fingers. Dozens of sent messages I didn't write. Resignation from my job, cancellation of our apartment lease, applications for credit cards that were maxed out and closed. And worst of all, emails to Sarah's family saying I was leaving her for another woman. "Who are you?" I shouted into the phone. The voice laughed, a sound that made my skin crawl because it was exactly how I laughed. "I'm you, David, the better version, the one who's not stupid enough to post his entire life online." Then he sent a photo. Him standing in front of a Miami Beach condo wearing my clothes, my watch, holding a champagne glass. The metadata showed it was taken an hour ago. "Your face recognition software is getting scary good these days, isn't it?" he said. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, thousands of photos from every angle. Years of voice recordings on your podcast. Everything I needed to become you. Sarah was Googling frantically. "David, look at this." She showed me her phone. There were dozens of news articles about deepfake identity theft, but not technology deepfakes, physical ones. People using advanced prosthetics and voice modulators to literally become someone else. A man in Texas lost his house. A woman in Oregon had her entire identity stolen by someone wearing her face. The FBI had a task force, but the criminals were using techniques from Hollywood special effects artists. "The crazy part," my voice said through the phone, "is that the hardest part wasn't copying your face. It was learning to walk like you. That little hip thing you do because you broke your ankle in college. Took me weeks to perfect." I called 911, but explaining that someone who looked exactly like me was stealing my life sounded insane. The operator kept asking if I was having a mental health crisis. While I was arguing with her, Sarah screamed. She'd found something on her laptop. Our wedding photos were being deleted from the cloud in real time, replaced with identical photos, but where my face should be, it was subtly different. The same, but wrong. Like an AI had tried to regenerate me, but missed the mark by 5%. "Why?" I asked the voice on the phone. "You picked the wrong target," he replied. "Your wife's inheritance isn't from her dead grandmother. It's from a settlement she doesn't know about yet. Medical malpractice. Her father's death. $43 million. Sarah dropped her laptop. "What about my dad?" The voice laughed again. "Oh, she doesn't know? Her mother never told her? Daddy Dearest didn't die of a heart attack. It was a surgical error. The hospital has been trying to reach her for months, but Mommy's been intercepting the letters. $43 million in damages, and your sweet wife is the sole beneficiary. I just needed to become you long enough to get power of attorney. My phone buzzed with a DocuSign notification. Power of attorney documents, already signed with my signature, making me Sarah's legal representative. The timestamp was from Thursday at 3:15 p.m. during my retirement party. We raced to Sarah's mom's house. Eleanor answered the door looking confused. I thought you two were in Bali. Sarah pushed past her, heading straight for her mom's office. Where are the letters, Mom? About Dad? Eleanor's face went white. How did you know about those? Sarah tore through the desk until she found them. Legal documents from a medical malpractice firm. Settlement offer after settlement offer. $43 million. Eleanor started crying. I was going to tell you after the honeymoon. I didn't want to ruin your wedding with talk about your father's death, but the latest letter was different. It confirmed receipt of our acceptance and noted that funds would be transferred to the designated account within 48 hours, an account neither Sarah nor I had opened. My phone rang again. By the way, my voice said, you might want to check what else I did at that retirement party. Richard texted me a video from the party. I watched myself corner Jessica from HR in the kitchen, heard myself making aggressive comments, saw her push me away and run out crying. She filed a complaint this morning, the voice said. Sexual harassment. Your coworkers are backing her up. They all saw it. Cameras caught it. Pretty sure you're getting fired even if you didn't retire. Then another text. Screenshots from my social media, except I hadn't posted them. Photos of me at strip clubs during my bachelor party, but edited to show different dates. During work trips when Sarah thought I was in meetings. Comments about being trapped in marriage, all posted while we were on our honeymoon but backdated to look older. Sarah's phone exploded with notifications. Her friends, her family, everyone was seeing the posts. Her sister called screaming about how I'd been messaging her inappropriately. Her uncle texted about money I'd borrowed. None of it real, but all of it documented. Every digital footprint perfectly fabricated. The beautiful thing about identity, the voice said, is that it's just information. And information can be copied, edited, improved. I'm not stealing your life, David. I'm upgrading it. You were wasting it anyway. Middle management, apartment living, basic wedding in Bali. I'll do better. I heard sirens. Police cars pulled up outside Eleanor's house. Oh, right, the voice said. I forgot to mention. I may have used your face to rob a few places last night. Nothing major. Just some light fraud at a casino. About 200 grand worth. The facial recognition at the Golden Nugget is excellent, by the way. You're very clearly on camera. The police were at the door. David Morrison? They asked. We need you to come with us. Sarah was screaming that it wasn't me, but they had a warrant. As they cuffed me, my phone buzzed one last time. A selfie of me boarding a private jet with a woman who looked like a supermodel. Thanks for the life, David. I'll take better care of it than you did. The interrogation room was cold. They showed me the casino footage. Perfect quality, multiple angles of me using stolen credit cards, cashing fraudulent checks, even assaulting a dealer who questioned the cards. My lawyer, a public defender who looked fresh out of law school, kept shaking his head. The biometric data is perfect. Facial recognition, gait analysis, even your mannerisms. If you weren't in Bali, I'd say you were guilty. I showed him everything. The GoPro footage, the airline records, the passport stamps. But for every piece of evidence I had, they had 5 showing me here. The FBI agent across the table, Special Agent Williams, finally spoke. You're the 7th case this month. Same MO. Someone studies a target for months, creates a perfect physical duplicate, then destroys their life while taking everything. Williams pulled up a classified file on his tablet. They call themselves the Mimics, ex-Hollywood effects artists who went dark after COVID killed the film industry. They spend months building perfect prosthetic faces, studying speech patterns, learning mannerisms. Then they strike during vacations, hospitalizations, any extended absence. By the time victims return, their lives are destroyed and the Mimics are gone. He showed me photos of other victims. A CEO who lost his company, a lottery winner who lost millions, a politician whose career was destroyed by a sex tape featuring his duplicate. The worst part, Williams said, is that legally, it's almost impossible to prosecute. The evidence shows you doing these things. Juries don't understand the technology. Even when we explain it, they don't believe it. Sarah had hired a private investigator using her mom's emergency fund. He called while I was still in custody. I found something. The woman in the jet photo, Victoria. She doesn't exist before 6 months ago, but her face is a composite of Instagram models. Roughly 17 different women merged into one. She's not real. She's another mimic. The PI had traced backward from the jet photo. The plane was registered to a shell company in the Caymans that existed for exactly 3 days. The hangar had no record of the jet. The photo itself was taken at a mock-up used for music videos. This isn't just identity theft, he explained. It's reality theft. They're creating entire false narratives that are more believable than the truth. My phone, which the police had returned after cloning it for evidence, received an encrypted message, a video file. It was security footage from inside my apartment, but from an angle where we'd never had a camera. It showed me installing hidden cameras everywhere. In the bedroom, bathroom, even inside the air vents. The timestamp was from 6 months ago. I've been watching you for longer than you think, my voice narrated over the footage. Every intimate moment, every fight, every password you typed thinking you were alone. I know Sarah's birthmark on her inner thigh. I know you cry in the shower when work gets bad. I know your mother calls you monkey when no one's listening. The FBI traced the cameras. They were real, broadcasting to a server in Romania that had already been wiped, but the purchase records led somewhere interesting. They were bought using a credit card in my name that I'd never opened, shipped to a mailbox I'd never rented, using an ID that was real, but that I'd never been issued. The DMV had records of me getting a duplicate license 3 months ago. Security footage showed me at the counter, passing biometric scans, even providing my social security number and mother's maiden name. But 3 months ago, I'd been in Portland at a conference with 200 witnesses. Sarah's inheritance hit the news. Suddenly, everyone understood the motive. The mimics had inside information about the settlement. Someone at the hospital or law firm had sold the information. They'd chosen us specifically because we'd be gone for 2 weeks, giving them time to establish my new identity as someone who'd won the lottery of marriage and was cashing out. The bank accounts they'd opened in Miami already had the $43 million transferred. The second Sarah's mom had signed those papers with my power of attorney, it was over. The money was gone, bounced through 17 countries in 6 hours, converted to cryptocurrency, then vanished into the dark web. Then something unexpected happened. The Golden Nugget's head of security called Williams directly. "We have a problem. The person who robbed us is currently at the blackjack table." Williams put him on speaker. "That's impossible. David Morrison is sitting right here in custody." The security chief sent a live feed to Williams's phone. There I was, sitting at a high roller table, betting stacks of chips. But something was different. This version was sloppier. The prosthetic edge was visible near the hairline. The walk was almost right, but not perfect. "It's not the same mimic," Williams said quietly. "It's a copycat. Someone else saw the news and made their own version of you." Within 3 hours, 7 different David Morrisons were spotted across the country. One was arrested trying to sell our story to Netflix. Another was caught trying to access Sarah's medical records. A third was running a GoFundMe claiming to be the real victim. The mimics had created a template of me so perfect that other criminals were using it. I'd become a mask that anyone could wear. The FBI's facial recognition system was having a meltdown. Every alert for my face was triggering dozens of times per day, but none of them were actually me. I'd become a ghost, haunted by my own appearance. Sarah filed for divorce on day 12, not because she blamed me, but because legally, she had to protect what was left of her assets. The marriage was now a liability. If she stayed connected to me, any of the mimics could claim spousal rights. Her lawyer explained it while crying. "This isn't about love, it's about survival. They've weaponized your identity. Anyone wearing your face could claim to be the real you, and we can't prove otherwise." The divorce papers were served to me in jail, but simultaneously, 3 other David Morrisons were served at different locations. One of them even showed up to contest it, with documentation proving he was the real me. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. My 13-year-old nephew, Kyle, was a computer prodigy. He'd been analyzing the videos of the fake me's, looking for patterns. "Uncle David," he said over the prison phone, "they all have the same tell. When they smile, there's a micro delay on the left side, like the prosthetic is stiff there. It's exactly 0.3 seconds every time." He'd written an algorithm that could detect this delay in real time. The FBI tested it on hundreds of hours of footage. It caught every single mimic with 99.7% accuracy. The only face that didn't have the delay was mine, the real one, sitting in a cell for crimes I didn't commit. But knowing and proving were different things. The district attorney, a woman named Patricia Nguyen, who'd built her career on being tough on crime, didn't care about micro delays. "A jury sees you on camera robbing a casino. They see your face, your voice, your fingerprints. You think they'll acquit because of a 0.3-second delay that requires special software to detect?" She offered a plea deal. 10 years, out in 6 with good behavior. My public defender wanted me to take it. It's better than life for identity fraud at this scale, but I refused. I wanted a trial. I wanted the world to know what the mimics had done, even if it meant risking everything. The trial became a media circus. People wore masks of my face to the courthouse, a bizarre show of support that only made things worse. The prosecution presented their case with hundreds of documents, videos, biometric matches. The defense presented mine with the honeymoon evidence, the technology explanation, Kyle's algorithm. The jury looked confused and overwhelmed. On day 3, something insane happened. One of the jurors stood up during a recess and pulled off their face. It was a prosthetic. Underneath was another face, scarred and unfamiliar. "I'm one of them," they announced to the stunned courtroom. "I've been wearing faces for 3 years. This man is innocent. We destroyed him for money." The juror, whose real name was Leo Garrett, had been part of the original mimic crew. He'd grown a conscience after seeing the destruction they'd caused. He provided everything with names, locations, techniques, even the workshop where they made the prosthetics. It was in an abandoned film studio in Burbank, still filled with Academy Award-winning special effects equipment. The FBI raided it within hours, finding dozens of faces in production. Politicians, CEOs, influencers, even a few celebrities. Each face took about 3 months to perfect and cost cost around $50,000 to create, but the return on investment was massive. They'd stolen over $200 million in 18 months. The trial was thrown out immediately, but the damage was done. I was free but unemployable. My face was toxic. Any company that hired me risked having a mimic show up claiming to be the real employee. Sarah and I tried to reconcile, but trust was impossible. How could she ever be sure it was really me? How could I be sure about her? The mimics had created perfect synthetic videos of her too, doing things she'd never done, saying things she'd never said. We'd look at each other and wonder if we were real, or just very good copies. The paranoia destroyed us. She moved to Canada. I moved to a small town in Montana where facial recognition didn't exist and people still use cash. But the story wasn't over. 6 months after the trial, I got a package with no return address. Inside was a prosthetic face. My face. Perfect in every detail, down to the chickenpox scar on my forehead. There was a note in my handwriting, though I hadn't written it. You can be anyone now, even yourself. I understood immediately. The mimics hadn't just stolen my identity. They'd made it worthless, then offered to sell it back to me. To be myself, I'd have to wear a mask of my own face. To prove I was real, I'd have to become fake. I stared at the prosthetic for hours, wondering if wearing it would make me more or less authentic than the dozens of other me's walking around. The FBI never caught the main mimic, the one who'd destroyed my life. Williams called occasionally with updates, sightings in Tokyo, Berlin, Sao Paulo, always wearing different faces, always one step ahead. They estimated he'd worn at least 40 different identities. He could be anyone, anywhere. The $43 million from Sarah's inheritance was never recovered. Her mother fell into a deep depression and died within a year, believing she'd caused everything by hiding the letters. Sarah herself became a recluse, unable to trust anyone who claimed to care about her. She sent me one last text before changing her number. I loved you, I think, if it was really you. I kept the prosthetic face in a safe for 3 years. Never wore it, but couldn't throw it away either. It was evidence of what I'd lost and what I could never get back with the simple confidence that my face was mine alone. Then, one day, I saw myself on the news. Another David Morrison had been arrested for murder. The victim was Leo Garrett, the mimic who'd saved me at trial. He'd been killed while wearing my face. The security footage was clear. I had shot him point blank, then looked directly at the camera and smiled with that 0.3-second delay. It was a message. The real mimic was still out there, still wearing faces, still destroying lives, and now he was cleaning up loose ends. The police came for me again. Different charges, same nightmare. But this time, I did something unexpected. I put on the prosthetic face, not to hide, but to prove a point. I walked into the police station wearing my own face as a mask, the ultimate irony of identity theft. I'm David Morrison, I told them, but so is everyone else. They ran the tests. The prosthetic passed every biometric scan. I was more convincingly myself while wearing a fake face than I'd ever been in my real skin. The charges were dropped again, but the message was clear: with identity was dead. We'd entered an age where anyone could be anyone, where your face was just another password that could be hacked. I started a company called TrueFace. We specialized in identity verification for a world where faces couldn't be trusted. Blockchain authentication, DNA-locked biometrics, quantum-encrypted identity tokens. Within 2 years, we were worth hundreds of millions. The ultimate irony was that I'd become rich selling the solution to the problem that had destroyed me. My clients were other victims, people whose faces had been stolen, whose lives had been copied. We formed a support group for the identity stolen. There were thousands of us, all living in the shadow of our own synthetic doubles, never knowing if the person we were talking to was real or just another very good copy. The mimics evolved too. They stopped stealing specific identities and started creating composite ones, faces that were 60% one person, 40% another. Legal gray zones where no one could claim ownership. They infiltrated governments, corporations, even law enforcement. Williams himself disappeared one day, and when he returned, he had that telltale 0.3-second delay. Or maybe he'd always been a mimic. Maybe the real Williams never existed. In a world where everyone could be anyone, paranoia wasn't mental illness, but adaptation. 5 years after my honeymoon, I got a final message from the original mimic, a video of him removing prosthetic after prosthetic, face after face, until there was nothing left but scar tissue and exposed skull. He'd worn so many faces that he'd destroyed his own, become a living ghost that could only exist through others. I won, he said in a voice that was everyone and no one. I proved that identity is an illusion, that we're all just wearing masks of ourselves. You sell security, but I sell truth. We are all mimics, David. Some of us are just honest about it. I never responded. I couldn't, because I realized I was wearing the prosthetic face more often than my real one. It was easier to be a copy of myself than to be authentic. My real face had atrophied underneath, pale and soft from never seeing sunlight. Sarah had been right to leave. The man she'd married didn't exist anymore. He'd been replaced by something that looked like him but better, more confident, more successful. I'd become my own mimic, stealing my identity from myself, performing an endless impersonation of the person I used to be. The news stopped covering mimic cases, not because they'd ended, but because they'd become too common. Like death or taxes, identity theft was just another fact of life. Children grew up knowing their faces would be stolen, that their voices would be copied, that everything about them could and would be weaponized. They adapted by never being consistent, changing their appearance daily, using voice modulators, living in deliberate obscurity. The mimics had won by making everyone into mimics. We all wore faces now, even if they were our own. I still live in Montana. I still run TrueFace. I still wear the prosthetic most days. Sometimes, late at night, I video call random numbers, hoping to find another real person, someone else who remembers when faces meant something. But all I ever find are other people wearing themselves, performing their identities, wondering if they're real or just very good copies. The honeymoon feels like another life, another person's memory. Maybe it was. Maybe the real David Morrison never came back from Bali. Maybe what came back was something else, something that looked like him, sounded like him, but was fundamentally different. The only thing I know for certain is this: I got back from my honeymoon and my boss asked, "How was your retirement party?" And in that moment, I ceased to exist. What remains is just an echo, a copy of a copy, a face wearing a face in an endless mirror of synthetic identity. The mimics didn't steal my life. They revealed that it was always a performance. That identity itself is the ultimate deep fake. And somewhere out there, the real me is living a better life, or maybe just a different one, wearing my face with more confidence than I ever could. Sarah sent me one last message through an encrypted channel last week. Just 4 words with, "I miss who we were." I wanted to reply, to tell her I missed it too, but I couldn't remember if the person she missed had ever really existed, or if he'd always been just another mask waiting to be stolen.